Good afternoon and good evening to everyone, depending on the place from where you are joining us today for this SBR InFocus webinar. That's the support for June 2024 exams. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Richa and I work as Education Support Manager at ACCA. So as the title suggests, this is the time when you have to manage your time and master your technique. So to help you do this, we have this session to support with SBR paper with our expert tutor, Tom Clendon, where he will share his insights to help you with the preparation for your exam. So sorry, these are an opportunity for you to hear experts advice on best exam techniques and exam practice to earn more marks in June 24 paper. The webinar will focus on how to deal with case study based answers, lessons on time management, importance of question practice, and best practices during the final 3 weeks before exams. And that's the most important thing you should know. So towards the end, we will also be picking up selected, very common, but very, very important questions from the students, which we have received when they were doing the registrations. And also, if the time permits, we will also pick a few of them live. So before I hand over to Tom, I would like to cover a few housekeeping items very quickly. At the bottom of your screen, there are a number of buttons you can use. There is a help icon, which provides resources and information to help you resolve any technical issues. There are icons for the slides and media player, so you will need to see both of these during the webinar. So make sure you have selected them. There is an attendee chat function, so you can engage with fellow webinar attendees, but please be mindful that do not share your personal details into attendee chat. Then there is a resource list, that's the icon like a file symbol, and which will help you access resources relevant to today's session, relevant to SBR paper. So do visit that section and get the links for yourself. We may be talking more about these resources later. You can rearrange your screen to suit you and resize the windows if you need to. And if at any point you cannot hear what we are saying or you cannot see any visuals, please refresh your browser. Registering for the session means you will be sent an email tomorrow with details of how can you listen to it again. So don't worry if you miss something or you have any technical issues, you will be able to access the recording. I am going to hand over to Tom in a moment and we'll be back with you towards the end of the session. In the meantime, if you want to ask ACCA or Tom a question, please click on Q&A button. And I know many of you have already started using that Q&A button. So likewise, I would request you to please just wait for some time and listen to the session. Maybe your questions are already getting answered while we are moving on from one slide to another. Please note we cannot guarantee responding to everyone directly, either verbally or via web chat, but we hope the questions we share will be helpful to everyone. So handing over to you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Risha, and thank you everybody who is attending live and those who are watching this on a record. The first thing I want to do very, very briefly is introduce myself, and I thank ACCA for selecting me to do this presentation for you. I am an ACCA member. Many years ago, I did these exams whilst I was working. So I was juggling my professional life, early career with working and studying in the evenings and weekends. So I remember that. I remember it was tough. But although I started off in the profession, my true vocation was teaching, and I have been very lucky to spend my career both in the UK and overseas teaching. And I now deliver my SBR courses through FME Learn Online. My vocation, my full-time job really is to help students pass SBR. And one way I do that is through podcasts. And so you may be familiar with my podcast. If you're not, you can quite easily find them on Spotify, on Google, on Apple. And I'm delighted to be helping you. I'm delighted to be helping ACCA today. One other little minor thing is I do want you to know where the attendee chat is. And I have just posted the fact that I'm dialing in from St. Albans, and I would be very curious to know where you're dialing in from. So I'm dialing in from the UK, from England, and where are you dialing in from? And it gives me then confidence that you know where the attendee chat is, because I will be asking you some questions on that attendee chat, okay? And on that attendee chat, if you could just tell me, yes, okay, Ahmed is from dialing in from Lahore, fantastic. Yana from the UK. Yeah, oh, and they're now rolling in and rolling in and rolling in. We've got Trinidad in the house, the Philippines, we've got Nepal, Namaste, Manchester. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Welcome, Rebecca. Excellent. Okay, all right, we're well represented throughout the world. This session is going to be action-packed, I hope, and I want to help you gain marks, earn marks in the examination by giving you a structure to answer case study questions, to think about time management, and to emphasize what you should be doing in the final few weeks. If you do have questions, drop them in the Q&A. They're going to get lost in the attendee chat. Some of you will be doing SBR as your first strategic professional exam. Others of you may have already passed one of the other papers and therefore have some experience of case study based answers. Now, for me, question 2, the ethics question, is the most typical question in SBR that has a case study based approach. Now, it can be difficult to give an absolute straitjacket approach as to how to answer questions. But I think this is a good working guide. The first thing you do is actually you read the question. Or maybe if I was a little bit more precise, I would say you read the requirement. Because only by reading the requirement first do you then know, when you are reading the exhibit, what you're looking out for. So the first thing you do is read the question. Identify what the question is asking. And in looking at the exhibit, you're trying to find buzzwords. You're trying to find clues. You're trying to find what the question is telling you so that you can then use that information with your knowledge to answer the question. Good students, better answers, clearly are thought through. As we will see in question 2, there are professional marks. And professional marks are awarded or can be earned for the structure and the presentation and the consideration of the answer. I am obsessed with many things. One of my obsessions is Paul Weller. Another one of my obsessions is students using subheadings in their answer to break it down. And I will be demonstrating that to you fairly shortly. So we plan. We reread the information in the question, thinking about how we are going to earn marks. You are not doing this exam to have an answer published in the newspaper. You are not doing this exam for any other reason than earning marks. That is why you are writing things down. You must always keep your eyes on the prize. There are images out there. One is a parrot and one is an apple. If you like parrots and you think the right thing to do is to be a parrot, can you put in the attendee chat the letter P? But if you like apples and you think the right thing to have is apples, can you put in the attendee chat the letter A? Can you either put P or A? when you're answering these types of questions? Are you being a parrot, P, or do you want to have a Apple application? Please use the attendee chat, and I'm seeing lots of answers, and everybody that I'm seeing. Thank you, James. Thank you, Loretta. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Peter. We are all, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Shane. We are all liking apples because Apple stands for application. If you find yourself in the exam writing stuff from memory, writing out sentence after sentence from the back of your brain that you've remembered from the textbook or from a previous answer, stop. Because that's not going to be the way to earn marks. Your exam question, rightly or wrongly, is going to be unique. You won't have seen it before. So you're going to have to stop. You're going to have to think. You're going to have to apply your knowledge. And when you're reading the question, when you're reading the requirement, you're going to have to break it down. That's what that slide, that's what that image is reminding me to tell you. Break it down, 1 mark at a time. You need to do 50 good things in the exam. All right? Break it down. Okay. It's all well and good me using these jargons and buzzwords. Actually, I think the best way for you to understand how to answer case study questions in this environment is for me to show you. I am not perfect. I am not going to give you the examiner's answer. I'm going to build an answer. We're going to think about what we're doing. This is for 10 marks. How many minutes should I be using? How many minutes should I be allocating in answering this question? How many minutes do you think I should be doing? Ahmed, we do not share personal details on the chat. Please do not share personal details on the chat. You were specifically asked at the beginning of the session not to do that. Christina says 18 minutes, and I love that answer. Yeah, 18 minutes, 20 minutes is the right length of time to spend on a 10-mark question. That's 10% of the time you have available. And we will have to move on after that length of time. The question reads, the requirement reads, discuss the ethical and professional dilemmas for the financial accountant in overseeing loans made to customers and the appropriate actions to be taken. That's a key word, and. Because that word and splits this requirement in two. Because you are being asked two things to discuss. So that's like right or wrong. It's kind of, both sides. Ethical and professional dilemmas for somebody. And the appropriate actions. Sometimes actions aren't specified. Here, we are deliberately being asked to give actions. Now, those professional marks are 2 marks. If the question hadn't asked for actions, maybe you would be able to earn marks, a professional mark, by giving an action, by giving a recommendation. When I go to the doctor, I want a diagnosis. I want him or her to discuss and understand my medical dilemma. But when I leave the appointment, I want a prescription in my hand. I want a blood test in my hand. I want an operation date in my hand. I want an action. All right? So inherent in understanding somebody's health or understanding somebody's ethical dilemma, it's how do you get out of this? So one way of earning professional marks, even if it's not required in the requirement, is to give some sort of action is to give some sort of advice. In essence, professional marks, and there's many more in the other papers, but in SBR, there's only 4, 2 in question 2 and 2 in question 4. If you've got an answer which is decent, if you've got an answer which is structured, considered, yeah, you're going to get a discretionary professional mark. If it looks good enough to hand over to your boss or to a client. And if you are good at linking the ethical pillars to the actual case, again, that is something that markers really like and will give you marks for. This is the past exam question. This is the past exam question. Rentu develops gaming apps for which customers are required to buy enhancements. The company's year end is 31st December. Pretty dull. The financial accountant of Rentu is an ACCA member. For me, that's a flag. For me, that tells me the financial account, I have expectations of that financial accountant. Yes, he is an ACCA member. He should be competent. He should be ethical. That financial accountant is responsible for overseeing the authorization of small loans. He is paid a commission based on the number of loans granted. He is paid a commission on the more loans he grants, the more money he gets. So therefore, there is an element, there is a threat to independence. There's an element of objectivity creeping in here. All right? A threat to objectivity and independence because there's a conflict of interest. The effective interest rate on the loan is 1,076%. Hang on a minute. Is that a typo? Interest rates in the UK at the moment are 5%. 1,076%? I am absolutely gobsmacked. It may be legal to charge somebody that amount of interest, but it feels like a loan shark. It feels like exploitation. It feels dirty, grubby, unethical, unprofessional. Now, if the loan's paid back within a month, no interest, there's an automatic system, artificial intelligence, blah, 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 blah. But those systems have been subject to frequent cyber attacks. You can't answer the question unless you read it. You can't answer the question unless you understand the clues and the buzzwords. If your computer system is vulnerable to attack, your customer data is liable to be out there. That is catastrophic for confidentiality. That is catastrophic for your business. There are 2 groups of customers, A and B. The financial accountant has got good knowledge of the AI system. This financial accountant is on the ball. Yeah, it's not somebody who's naive about computers. They know about systems. The credit system is positively biased towards A. Who is A? A is the poor people. A is less wealth. I'll be honest with you, I'm not that excited, or I'm not that really something or other about this information. It's kind of giving me a bit of a headache. I've got a bit of a headache. I need to start writing something down. And when I think about structuring my answer, I need to think about the split of marks that I will be earning, because I'm doing 2 things: an ethical and professional dilemma, discussing that, and appropriate actions. Now, my starting point is 4 and 4. Yeah, it is dodgy, isn't it, Nadia? My starting point is 4 and 4, but actually, actions, I think, are going to be worth less. I'm judging this to be a 6 and 2 split. If I say there are 6 things, if I'm trying to earn 6 marks for ethical and professional dilemmas, maybe, just maybe, I could try and identify 3 pillars, 3 ethical issues. And if I can identify 3 ethical issues in the case and get 1 or 2 marks each time, I'm answering the question. When it comes to actions, yeah, let me try and come up with 2. So that's my basic plan. The fact that we've got the commission screams at me about objectivity. The fact that we've got 1,076% interest rate screams at me about integrity. And the fact that we've got vulnerable computer systems subject to cyber attack screams at me confidentiality. So I have gone down the route of thinking that my answer will be planned around 2 marks for objectivity, 2 marks for integrity, and 2 marks for confidentiality. In the words of Fanny Craddock, here's one I've done earlier. Objectivity. We have an ACCA member. The expectation is they adhere to ethical principles, and there is, because they are receiving a commission on work that they themselves approve, that is a threat to objectivity. There is an integrity issue because the business model is charging 1,076%. To me, that feels like I'm working for the mafia. That feels dodgy. To quote Nadia, it's hard to reconcile being a good person working for a loan shark. Because the computer system is vulnerable to attack, yes, you could say self-interest threat, Abigail, absolutely. Because the computer system is vulnerable, there is a risk to cyber attack. So this is my kind of thoughts. And if you can write them down. Now, let me give you a more developed answer, because what you shouldn't do is just write down single words. In a minute, not now, in a minute, I'll ask you to be the marker. In a minute, I'll get you to reflect on what you think my answer is worth. But under the heading of objectivity, I have identified that the finance director is an ACCA member, therefore I have expectations. That the finance director is paid commission, and therefore objectivity is getting personal gain. There is that threat. Objectivity. I'm comfortable. Integrity. It's very short. The business model looks to charge a very high rate of interest. This is legal, but it may not be ethical. Okay? Confidentiality. Customer data is vulnerable to third parties. I've just copied out the question. The FD has an ethical responsibility to keep the customer data secure. Absolutely they do. And he's got competence and knowledge in the area. So we're discussing, he's got that responsibility. So I'm trying to earn 6 marks from the ethical and professional dilemma by breaking it down into 3. And I'm trying to earn 2 marks from the action points. And I've got some action points in respect of the finance director. You be the marker. Out of two, this answer, as it stands at the moment, would you give that 0? Would you give that 1? Or would you give that 2? How many marks do you think actions the FD should resign from the FD should advise from ACCA, the FD should resign? How many marks do you think that is worth? 0, 1, or 2? Please, can you put your answer in the attendee chat? Emma says nil. Ellen says nil. Jocelyn says nil. Adam says nil. Catalin is a little bit more generous. Laura says 1. Katie says 1. Dana, no, Dana, this is not worth 2 marks. You're living in another world. Faye says 0. Okay, all right. So I would say half of you are saying 0 and half of you are saying 1. What do I say? What do I say? Ernest, no. I say, no half marks. Abdullah, don't believe in half marks. I've never seen a student walk away from an exam with 49.5. They either get 50 or 49. Laura, I'm with you. The answer for me is 0. This is stuff that you've just walked into and just written down. It's not applied, not good enough. That is not getting you any marks. This is better. This is better. This is the real thing. He should reflect on the ethical guidelines and use these as a basis for future action. Yeah? It's not about he must resign. It's not about you must take advice. You've got to take personal responsibility. Now, the classic other answer is go and talk to management, flag this up, tell somebody something bad is happening. Oh, do you know we're charging 1,076%? Oh, that's exploitative. Well, I think the directors are going to know that. That's the business model. They're not going to suddenly say, oh, thank you for pointing that out. We're going to lower the rate of interest. Be in the real world. I have included in there, ultimately, you may consider resigning. I mean, that's a nice little throwaway comment, but this is a little bit more mature. This is a little bit more sophisticated. And if you really want to dot the I and cross the T, life is complex. When you did basic bookkeeping, it's debit and credit. 2 + 2 = 4. This is ethics. This is judgment. All right? Ethical dilemmas don't always have a black or white solution. It is not illegal to charge somebody 1,076% interest. It just doesn't feel right. All right? Now, for me, that's a proper answer for that section. So let me recap. Let me summarize the answer. This is not the examiner's answer. You can go online, you can find the examiner's answer. The examiner's answer is much better than this. But I'm not here to produce the examiner's answer. I'm here to show you a structured approach to try and break the answer down and to show you how you can potentially pass this examination. There are 8 marks available. If you like, each subheading is a challenge. Can I get 2 marks for objectivity, 2 marks for integrity, 2 marks for confidentiality? Can I get 2 marks for actions? That's the kind of approach that we're taking. How many marks out of 8 do you think this is worth? How many marks out of 8 do you think this is worth? Please use the attendee chat. I'll tell you in a moment, Derek. I'll tell you in a moment. How many marks out of 8? Use the attendee chat. Do you think this is worth? Not the examiner's answer. Oh, Laura says 6. Dawn says 6. Yar says 6. 6 seems to be a common number. Mohammed says 5. Oliver says 6. Ingrida says 8. I think, Ingrida, you're a little bit naive on 8. I think 8, Richard, no, 8 is too much. Abigail says 6. Glad you logged in, Abigail. 7, Faheen says 6. We're cooking on gas. Actually, 6 seems to be the most popular answer, and I think ultimately I am going to agree with the majority. Thank you, Rex. Yeah, I am going to go for 6 as well, because I think the objectivity paragraph is worth 2 marks. I think integrity was not well developed. I think the confidentiality was a bit short as well, but I'm giving myself 2 out of 2 for the action. So therefore, effectively, this answer, as it stands, is worth 6. Yeah, it's not perfect. I don't believe in perfection, Razdan. I don't believe in perfection. Not what I'm about. And I think if this is worth 6 and we've still got the professional marks to come into play, I would be comfortable saying that this answer was well structured. There is an argument for saying you should only give 1 professional mark, but I do like my last point on the actions. So 7 or 8. 7 or 8. If you got 80%, it is laid out well. Thank you, Abigail. That's the point. If you got 8 out of 10, if you got 80% in your exam, you would probably win a prize in your local country. You know, it is enough. It's not perfect. I haven't really dealt with that customer A, customer B dilemma. I didn't really understand it. I think that's more about integrity, that somehow we're exploiting the poor. And, you know, the examiner's answer goes on about that. But when I first read it, I thought, oh, what's this about? Yeah, I went for the low-hanging fruit. I went for a complete answer. I don't think you need a table format. It's just words. For God's sake, don't write this in the Excel. This is in Word. Don't write it in the Excel. You don't need a table format for this. I don't think anyway. So that's how to do it. I wanted to show you how. I wanted to show you how, not just talk in an abstract way. Oh, I'm tired. I need a cup of tea. Hang on for a second. Fahim, there's plenty of resources on the ACCA website. I'll come back to that later. Right, okay. Question 1 is not a case study, but there is a really good, and I say it's really good because I did it, but there is a really good video on the ACCA YouTube channel about how to approach question 1. Okay? So if you haven't seen that already, make sure that you do. It's really useful that you have a structured approach to question 1 and you understand how the pre-populated spreadsheet works. The examiner's reports have highlighted that a minority, but a substantial minority of students don't appear to be comfortable with the pre-populated spreadsheets in question 1. And it's really, really important that you are properly prepared for the exam. You may have the knowledge, but unless you know how things are being tested, you know how to earn the marks, it's not an efficient process for you. So please, yeah, I have put in the attendee chat a link to that YouTube channel. Right, okay. I've only got an hour. There's a limit to what I can say. But time management is really important in this exam. It is absolutely really important. And I'm sure you've read examiners' reports. I hope you have. And I think in every examiner's report I've ever read, there's been a comment about time management. And in SBR, very specific about question 1. Learn from other people's mistakes, please. Don't spend too long on question 1. What does that mean? You have to be disciplined with your time. How can you get quicker? Practice questions to time. And maybe, just maybe, don't do question 1 first. Maybe, just maybe, do another question first in the exam. What do you think you need? What do you think you need? What's your limiting factor? Do you need more K knowledge, or do you need more time to pass this exam? You personally What is it you would like more of? Would you like more knowledge, K, or would you like more T, time? Tell me in the attendee chat, please. I'm curious to know, those people in the house, whether they need more K, knowledge, or whether they need more T, time. Oh, Shafira, that's very philosophical. Yeah, okay. Both. Yeah, both, Anna. Okay, there's honesty. There's reality. I'm trying to make things binary. Yeah? Some of you are saying time. Charlotte's saying time. Yeah, Adam's saying time. Yeah. Okay. So it's a mixture. It's a mixture. And that's normal. This exam needs, but you need both. You need to have good knowledge and good time management. Ideally, you've been soaking up the knowledge over the last few months. I'm not going to say days. I'm not even going to say weeks. The exam is 3 weeks away, and SBR should be respected like a marathon is respected. Not a walk in the park. It's a proper, strategic, professional exam. What I would reassure you about is that you do not need to have 100 marks in the exam, and you do not need perfect knowledge. You need to be able to apply the knowledge that you have well, but you don't need perfect knowledge. All right? So don't beat yourself up too much about chasing the impossible. It's having a core knowledge of the principles and being able to apply them in practical situations. Remember, we crossed off the parrot. Remember that the client can go to Google to look up the definition. It's their practical situation that matters. If you feel you've got a knowledge gap, just go and look it up on Study Hub. If you feel that you don't know anything about leasing, just go and look it up on Study Hub. Yeah, but it's too late now to start building up a comprehensive knowledge for the exam in 3 weeks' time. You should have already working knowledge. You should have basically gone round the block already. More time is a revision phase issue. Yeah, more of a revision phase issue. Remember, to pass this exam, you need to be marked out of 100. If you're being marked out of 75 because you miss a question out, and you only do 3 questions, so you're marked out of 75, in theory you can pass. But nobody ever does. Those students who get 40s, those students who get in the 40s and who don't, they're not answering all of question 4. Oh my God, I wish you could really understand how important it is to be able to spend 45 minutes at least on question 4. Because it seems that the students who fail the exam, that's not what they're doing. They've overrun on question 1. Mohammed, JMO. Mohammed, JMO. I'll come back to that in a minute. How do you get faster? How did Usain Bolt run so fast? Do you think he ran so fast by watching YouTube videos of other people running fast? No, I think he got out on the track himself and ran up and down and got faster that way. And if you're doing past exam questions, you are getting faster, but you're also improving your knowledge. You're doing 2 things at the same time. JMO. What does JMO stand for? What does JMO stand for? Anybody know? Because you've got to JMO. If you're going to pass this exam, you've got to JMO. What is JMO? Anybody know what JMO stands for? Attendee chat, let me know. Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Loretta. Just move on. Get a life. If you've got 8 out of 10, don't be greedy. Don't go for 9. Don't go for 10. Because if you do, they're the harder marks to get, and you're missing the low-hanging fruit in the next part of the question. Yeah, you've got to just move on. You've got to be ruthless. Ruthless if you're going to pass this examination. Question practice. I mean, that's the answer to so many questions. What should I be doing in the last 3 weeks before the exam? How should I improve my time management? How should I improve my knowledge? I mean, it's the same answer. Question practice. I'm English. I'm British. I'm European. I have a multitude of identities. I like football. I like rugby. I like cricket. Does anybody know where that is? Anybody know where that is? Where are those guys playing cricket? Yeah, a few miles away from my house. Nobody knows? I mean, this is relevant to SBR. I mean, indirectly. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is Lord's, home of cricket. Where England play, MCC play. Now, why have I shown this? This is their home ground. When they play at Lord's, they normally win. They play at home. When Liverpool play at Anfield, they normally win. Now, I used to be able to say that about Manchester United. Manchester United are so poor at the moment that when they play at Old Trafford, they normally lose. So it doesn't quite work that way, does it? But the point is, if you use the practice platform and you make the practice platform your home, if you do practice questions on the practice platform, you will be used to it. And therefore, being used to it means that when you come to do the actual exam, you will be aware of the clunkiness of it. The fact that you can't add a row in the spreadsheet, the fact that there's no spell check, you will be comfortable with how it works. Time for a quiz. Time for a quiz. Do you practice questions on the practice platform? Time for a quiz. It's anonymous. It's a bit of fun. A few of you have been brave enough to answer. I'm looking for a few more. I'm not checking up on you. This is not going anywhere. I just want an honest answer because there is a significant uplift in the pass rate of those students who've logged on to the practice platform. Or put it this way, those students who haven't been on the practice platform don't perform so well in the actual exam. I'm going to call an end to this in 5 seconds. 5, 3, 4, 1, 2, bash. Yeah, next slide. And when I click on the next slide, it should show me the result. I don't know who I'm talking to, but there are 12% of people present who I know what they're going to be doing tonight. There are 12% of people present who are going to be practicing questions on the practice platform tonight. Otherwise, what's the point? You've given up your time, yeah, to attend this session. I'm giving you, 12% of you, that direct advice. Sometimes it's better than never. Yes, is, if you like, the gold standard. This is the question that I'm addressing. Have a plan. You've got to sleep. You've got to eat. You've got to be realistic in your plan. Fail to plan, plan to fail. Do your mocks to time. Everybody can get a reasonable answer if they spend 2 hours on a question and it's open book. That is not a proper process. ACCA are kind enough resourceful enough to provide you with a mock, not written by the examiner, and there are debriefs to it as well. So there's an encouragement for you to do the pre-June 24 mock. Do you know when they are released? Do you know when the answers are released? Some of you do. Some of you don't. Some of you do. And I'm really pleased that the vast majority of you have the right answer. In other words, out there already, yeah, you've got that mock. And again, I would encourage you to have a go at that mock. So well done. Yeah, well done. What to do between now and the exam? Mocks, other mocks, yeah, more mocks. If you can get your mocks marked, fantastic. If you're on a course, your tutor ideally should be marking a mock exam or two. Certainly what I do for my students, give them detailed feedback. So ask that of your tutor. If you haven't got a tutor, if you're not signed up with an ALP, try and get a study buddy. Yeah, be prepared to mark someone else's and you have a go. Have an exam plan. We talked about the order in which you might do the exams, the order you might do the questions. You have an exam plan. Everybody should have an exam plan. I bet the guy who was fighting Mike Tyson had a plan as to how he was going to beat him. And then he got punched in the face. Once you're punched in the face, so you need to be able to recover from that. Yeah, like you go swimming, it's cold. You need to be able to recover from that, and you can only do that through the experience of living through a mock exam, because you will be punched in the face. I'm sure ACCA really won't like me saying that you're going to be punched in the face by the examiner. That's not a little clip that should go viral. But I'm saying that in the exam, you'll have a shot. Do things. Mix it up. Practice questions. Key knowledge. Listen to my podcast. Listen to my podcast. Find my podcast. It's there on Google. It's there on Apple. It's there on Spotify. It's nice. It's short. It's sharp. It's 10 minutes. You can find it. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'll be posting about this event on LinkedIn when I finished it. And if you've got further questions that haven't been addressed, find that post on LinkedIn. I'll do it. It'll be about this, and I can respond to your questions there. But you've got to be a little bit careful that you don't burn out. I want you to effectively realize that the night before a big race, Usain Bolt had an early night. The night before a big fight, Mike Tyson was not doing heavy, didn't have a heavy session in the gym. You're going to be thinking in the exam, reacting in the exam. You've got to avoid burnout because you are committed, you're working hard. If you're not working hard, you're not taking it seriously. So as you build into the exam, the last few days, you've got to revise your revision. You've got to build your confidence. You've got to go into that exam not thinking you're going to get 100%, but thinking you're going to answer 4 questions and you're going to do your best. Early night. Favorite meal. Yeah. Early night. Favorite meal. Okay. Here are some of your questions. Some of your questions which have come in already and which have been selected as being most relevant. If revision time is limited, what areas would you suggest that I focus on? Doing questions to time. Doing a question 1, doing a question 2, doing a question 3, doing a question 4. I cannot tip this examination. Well, no, I can. Groups is coming up, ethics is coming up, lots of accounting standards are coming up, and something on investor focus is coming. I can tip it that way. But in the June exam, some of you will sit it in the morning and maybe have a cash flow. Some of you may sit it in the afternoon and maybe have a balance sheet at question 1. And some of you may sit it online, whatever, and have a P&L at question 1. There's more than one exam. The whole syllabus gets tested. So I can't tip. What I can say is if revision time is limited, which it is for everybody, now, scratch the itch if you've got a gap in your knowledge. The week before the exam is not the time to dive into pensions because you've never looked at it. Yeah? If you've got a gap in your knowledge, now's the time to scratch it. All right? Because you've got to be practicing questions at a time. Having the knowledge is not good enough to pass the exam. Not a test of knowledge. It's a test of the application of knowledge within the structure of the exam. What is my predicted consolidation question? Yes. Yes. That is my prediction. Yes. There will be a consolidated question at question number 1. You're right. Yes. Could be a balance sheet. Could be a P&L. Could be a cash flow. Yes. You're right. That's my prediction. Yeah. I mean, I could say I predict a consolidated balance sheet and I'd be right half the time, but I'd be wrong half the time. I move on. Usain Bolt got quicker by practicing. That's how you get quicker. You don't get quicker by thinking, you get quicker by doing, planning. Yeah? So you do have to pause before you write, before you type. You have to structure your answer the question. All right? I think I've already addressed the issue about how professional marks are given. Yeah? Structure, maturity, reflection. Yeah? Addressing the ethical pillars, linking them directly back. How to complete the paper within the time frame? Challenging. Doing mock examinations to time. I feel like a parrot. And I don't like parrots, but I feel I'm repeating myself. Which question should you do first? Interesting. You have a plan. You're an adult. You decide which question you do first. This is the criteria I would use. I would ask yourself, what's your best question? What question are you scoring well on? Because what you want to have is after an hour into the exam, you want to feel, hey, I'm on track here. Hey, this is going well. I'm cooking on gas. And maybe that's question 1, maybe that's question 2, maybe it's something in section B. Don't read the question, don't read the whole exam. Don't read the whole exam. Have a plan before you go into the exam and just stick to it. Go straight for 1 or straight for 2. You decide. Personally, I'll probably do question 2 first. Yeah, because arguably it's the least technical. It's the most writing. I can kind of structure it out. But on the consolidation questions, there is an explanation and there are numbers. Now, in the last exam, there was a big cash flow question. And the requirement has to be broken down into A and B. Yeah, update, show the consolidation numbers, and B, explain what's going on. If you explained what was going on the whole time, and then did the numbers, you'd be doing the question twice. Or if you did all the numbers and then explained it, you'd be doing the question twice. So I recommend an holistic approach. If the adjustment is to, I don't know, write off goodwill, if there's an impairment loss on the goodwill which hasn't been processed, you know, take it away from the goodwill, take it away from the retained earnings and the NCI, if NCI is at fair value, and then explain that. So you do a little bit of requirement A and a little bit of requirement B at the same time. Don't write your narrative answers in the pre-populated spreadsheet. Markers hate that. Yeah, be friends with the marker. Write your narrative answers in the word processing area. Still the questions come. Is the UK paper, so it's UK and Irish, harder than the international version? It's not harder. Maybe it is. It's just slightly more. If you're doing, and you've already made this decision, because you're doing the June exam, you've already entered. If you've chosen to do the international version, if you like, you're studying 100%. If you've chosen to do the UK and Irish variant, everything that the international students or students doing the international stream, you need to know about all the IFRSs, everything. And if you're doing the UK or Irish variant, you need to know about FRS 102 and the differences with UK and Irish GAAP. So there's a little bit extra. One of the editions on my podcast does cover that. And it's question 3 normally, where ACCA just have a slight variant on question 3. So why do they fail people in the 40% range? Because they judge that they're not competent, that they haven't earned the marks. And I think by being given a mark, you're aware how close you are to it. So trust me, I don't work for ACCA. I mean, I'm representing them today. Everything I've ever done, known about the ACCA examination process, marking process, has been ethical, rigorous. If somebody gets 45, that is the mark they're going to get. It's because they haven't earned enough to pass. Excuse me. Are you required to quote the standards when answering the questions? No. Can you say the relevant standard says that? Yes. Yeah. No marks ever in the marking guide are allocated to knowing the number of the standard on investment properties, standard on PPE, or whatever it is. All right. Vanessa, did I say workings and write your explanations afterwards? No. What I said was be holistic. So if you've got 5 adjustments, instead of writing 5 things and then doing 5 lots of numbers, solve the first problem in both ways. Solve it numerically and narratively at the same time. Personally, I would probably do the narrative first, then the number. Narrative first, then the number. Narrative first, then the number. But really, I don't give a damn if you want to do the number first, then the narrative. Point is, don't do 5 number, and then do 5 narrative. Answer the question holistically. How to prepare for investor focus. Challenging, difficult. Put yourself in the shoes of an investor. Arguably, it's not a new topic. It's a way of making you think about existing issues from the perspective of the investor. Ladies and gentlemen, I have spent an hour on this presentation. I am clearly going to have a coughing fit and need a fresh cup of tea. But after I've done my coughing fit and a fresh cup of tea, I will be on LinkedIn. I will go on LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn, I will put a post in relation to this presentation. And if you still have questions that you want to ask me, you can ask them as comments on that presentation, so the presentation can effectively continue. But for now, on behalf of ACCA, I'm going to say thank you very much for attending. Because you have attended, Because you have registered, you will be sent a copy of this recording. There are additional resources available that you can see there to do with previous insights, to do with past examination questions, and so on and so forth. My name is Tom Clendon, and I help students pass SBR. I will be posting on LinkedIn in 15 minutes time. If you want to engage with me on LinkedIn, I will be able to answer your questions. Just give me 15 minutes to have that coughing fit and to have a fresh cup of tea, and that will be my cure. I love doing these sessions. If you're asked for feedback, please help ACCA. Thank them for putting on these sessions. Yeah, because you're not being charged for these sessions. You've appreciated them. Thank them. Tell them what you liked about them. Tell them things that you didn't like about them. They're interested in them. Thank you very much. Good luck. But please